Changing tires seems to be a black art. A lot of guys are afraid to do it. I know a lot of my friends take their bikes to shops to get tires put on, but you can really do this at home. It's not that hard. And to prove it, I'm going to put this tire on with a broken arm. The secret to putting a tire on and taking one off is all in how the tire is made. The bead sits up on these ridges, and there's a low spot there. The bead sits on the ridges, and there's a low spot there. And that's the same for car tires, motorcycle tires. Is this bead around here, it cannot fit over this rim right here. It's smaller than that rim. It's the size of this ledge. So to get this bead over this rim, we have to make this bigger. And what makes it bigger is we drop the bottom part of that bead, will sit down inside the groove on the wheel. And when it sits in the groove, the top part can come over. Look at that, the bead comes right off. I'm going to go ahead and get the bead off the other side. But if you look how this rim is made, this is the side you want to take off first, the narrow side. Because if you try to take it off on the wide side, the bead is all the way over here and it can't stretch to this side. It's got the groove in the middle where the bead goes. It's got a narrow side and a wide side. Always work on that narrow side first when you're taking it off. Work on the narrow side second when you're putting it together. This is a junk wheel, so I'm going to show you what's going to happen if you try to take it off. Here's the narrow side. If you try to take it off, here's the wide side. On the grab a little bite, little as I can. And bring it on over. It took tons of force and it would not come off. And you can see the dents. I'm bending the rim all up, trying to pull that bead off on this wide side. Now, if we work it off on the narrow side, it's going to come right off. This part of the bead just went down in that smaller area in the groove. It's nice and loose. It's not real tight at all like the other side. Grab another bite, not too big when you get crazy. Then grab another bite. Just pull it on around. Look at that. It's going to come off so easy. If you're doing a lot of struggling and using a lot of force, you're probably doing something wrong. That's all it takes. That's all the energy it takes. Now, this wheel will just pull out of here. You step on this side, you can just lift this thing out the rest of the way. How easy was that? If I were doing a motorcycle, I'd take this disc brake off. But a pretty thick disc brake on this little mini bike. So I'm going to leave it on. And I'll try to plan to work the this side on first, and then I'll work this side on with the tire levers. Because what'll happen is when you try to lever the tire on, you hit the disc brake and you can't get the bead over the wheel. So you want that disc sitting on the ground when it's all said and done for putting the last part of the bead on. And that's an easy way to bend your disc, because you'll be stepping on it and stuff and putting a lot of pressure on it. And I forgot to show it out there. I'll do it again in here. So the tire's on. You can see the bead is up against the rim, so it's ready to ride. But to get this tire off, obviously we're going to let the air out. What you want to do is you want to push this bead down in to to the groove of the rim. Usually pushing with your feet. I have a bead breaker in the garage. Once you get it down in there, see now it's in on this side, you can see it sitting down on the rim. And now I can fit a tire iron underneath that lip. But once I start pulling on it, it's going to get really tight and you'll have a hard time fitting your second lever in. So you want to put your second lever in while it's still nice and loose, and then run 2 levers at a time, and you can pop that bead over the rim. You see right there, it's going to come over the rim. And I like to put it on with the inner tube already in the tire. I have just enough air in the tire, or the inner tube, to keep it round, so hopefully I don't wrinkle it and pinch it during installation. Soap or Armor all around the bead goes a long way in making it easy. Make it slide right on there. I like Armor All. It doesn't dry up as quick as the soap and water solution does. It stays slippery for longer. It don't matter if it gets inside. Logic says if you want to do this end second, like I told you, sitting on the ground, logic says if you want to do this bead second, then I should flip it over and start like that and do this bead first. But that's actually not right. We're going to start it the same way, just like we're going to finish it. Before you put your tire on, make sure you're putting it on the right way. So my bike rolls this way, calipers on this side, and the little treads look good this way. There should be an arrow on the tire. We'll see. Yep, direction of travel. It rolls that way. And my bike rolls this way. So we're going to go like this. I want to line that valve stem up with the hole. Don't worry if it goes in right. You don't have to put it in right now. There'll be time we can slide that hole in. So I'm just going to kind of step on it and get the bottom started. There it is. There's the first side on. So now we flip it over. You can see this side is on. It's not all the way up into the bead yet, but air pressure is going to put that up there. But we see we still have it on this side. We're going to continue putting this one in. I moved this operation indoors. A big old storm. Typical Florida weather. And I had to shut the garage door. It's just too hot out there. So now we're going to do the second part, where it'll get tighter. These are called bead savers. You get them on eBay if you're concerned about scratching your beads. They just they clip onto your bead like this when you're doing your last couple of tire iron hits. You just put that bead saver on there, pop it on, and that'll keep you from scratching your wheel. Alright, so now we got the tire around the one side. We've got to find that valve stem and put it through the hole. You can usually just reach your hand in there and you can feel it. And again, if you have that Armor All on the tube, it makes it slide real nice. You can spin the tube around inside the wheel. You don't have to be tight, just enough to keep it from falling out. You don't really want that tight. A lot of guys put the valve stem through before they put the tire on. I've actually torn valve stems from tubes that way. So you can see it's not straight, but we're just going to slide the wheel again like that, and we're going to straighten it right up. Learning everything left-handed. It's hard to thread a nut left-handed when you're a right-handed guy. Now we want this part of the bead down into that rim. I don't like to do it where the valve stem is, because the valve stem is kind of wide and you can't get it seated. So I usually start it somewhere around in here, away from the valve stem. I also don't want the valve stem to be the last place I'm prying on, because I don't want the tips of my tire irons hitting that valve stem. So I like the finished prying will be done up here somewhere and starting it down here somewhere. And here's the valve stem. This bead down inside there. And that's easy, of course, because the tire is loose and floppy right now. You just want to get that down inside that groove. This is what I was talking about. You would bend your rotor if you had a really nice rotor. But this rotor seems to be real strong. You just work it around. You just take little bites. Don't try to do too much at once. And be conscious of your tube in there. You don't pinch your tube between the tire iron and the edge of the rim. I just slowly work it in there. And I walk my feet around as I do it. That'll keep it from popping back out on you real easy. That's too big of a bite. So you take a little bite. Just take small bites. You'll get to a point where it'll stay. And that's going to happen right about here. It's going to stay. Right there. Now you don't have to worry about holding it in so much. It's actually harder to get out right now than it is to go in. And there's the last part. It'll look like that. We'll just pop it in there. Back in the oven of a garage, ready for air. About 30 psi. To get the bead to seat on a tubeless tire, you need a pretty good rush of air going in there. So I took the valve core out with one of these tools here. We'll use a different method. And there's the bead set. Nice, see? 2 pops. And it's on. We heard both beads set. Now it's on. Now I can let the air out. Put the valve stem back in and air it up. It looks pretty good with street tires on it.